Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. It is January 19th, 2024, and we have a great show for you today. First, Alec Baldwin has been indicted in New Mexico. Richard Allen, the alleged Delphi murderer, well, he wins at the Indiana Supreme Court. The Innocent Project wants to help Scott Peterson. In today's world, you can't trust anyone with your kids. Let me give you an example. We also have a story about a man who thought he couldn't afford to get married, so what's the logical thing to do? That's right, kill your fiance. Then we got a naked man walking down the street who beats to death a delivery driver dropping off firewood at someone else's house, and then our dumb criminal of the day who can clearly be described as an idiot. Let's talk about it.
Hi, lawyer.
Good day, everyone. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for joining us. You know the drill. Subscribe if you haven't. Like if you do. Leave me a comment below. Hit that little bell for notifications. And remember, you can always listen to us on any of your podcasting apps. All right, first on the docket, Alec Baldwin has been indicted. That's right. He has been charged with involuntary manslaughter ×2 by a New Mexico grand jury, more than 2 years after he accidentally shot cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of the ill-fated Western film Rust. Now, the indictment was returned today, and it charges Alec Baldwin with involuntary manslaughter on the grounds of negligent use of a firearm and disregard for others' safety, and negligent use and without due caution or circumspection. It's the same conduct, different charge. If the jury were to hear the case ultimately, they could find him guilty of both, and they would merge for sentencing. So if convicted, Alec Baldwin faces up to 18 months in prison. Now, as you may recall, previous charges filed by the prosecutors were dismissed in April of last year. Baldwin has always maintained that he followed gun safety laws and that the fault lies with the armorer or crew who handed him a gun that had live ammunition. He insists he confirmed that the gun was cold, i.e. no rounds in the firearm, when he took it to rehearse the scene in question. Baldwin states, and I don't think anybody disputes it, that he was practicing drawing the prop weapon from his holster when he claimed it fired spontaneously. He's also been adamant that he did not pull the trigger, which excites me because now I get to bring in my antique firearm, one similar that Alec Baldwin will use, and I will show you that it is impossible for that charge or that allegation that it went off spontaneously to be truthful. Now, obviously, we'll give Mr. Alec Baldwin the presumption of innocence, and his attorneys say that they look forward to their day in court. So do I, and hopefully it's televised for the world to see. Or will the prosecutors offer a deal to Alec Baldwin that he simply cannot refuse, for example, like a misdemeanor or some type of a deferred judgment, to be determined? No indication of when Alec Baldwin will next be ordered to appear in court for an arraignment and his first appearance on the indictment. Next, Richard Allen gets most of what he wanted from the Indiana Supreme Court. That's right, the Indiana Supreme Court issued a ruling Thursday afternoon that Richard Allen's original attorneys would and should be reinstated. Additionally, the special judge, Fran C. Gull, will be able to continue presiding over the case. The ruling came just hours after a hearing at the Indiana State House in Indianapolis, and not in the Carroll County, where Richard Allen is charged with the 2017 murders of the Delphi teenagers Abby Williams and Libby German. The decision from the Indiana Supreme Court reads in part, having considered the written submissions and having heard the arguments of counsel, the court votes to grant the petition for writ as to Realtor's request to reinstate attorneys Baldwin and Rossi as his court-appointed counsel. The court unanimously denies all of the relief sought. Among the requests denied by the Supreme Court, which was to remove the special judge Francis C. Gull and having the trial within 70 days. Now, the decision did allow for Allen to have his original appointed public court-appointed attorneys reinstated. So that is big for him. Little surprised that the Indianapolis Supreme Court moved so quickly, but that is good. So what do we know? He gets his attorneys back. They're going to say they're ready to go. Judge, let's set a trial date. The question will be, is the prosecutor going to be ready for a trial date? And next, the judge, who obviously thinks that Mr. Allen's attorneys are a bunch of incompetent boobs, well, there ought to be a lot of hostility and contentiousness between the attorneys and the court. Gee, that ought to be fun. What could possibly go wrong? And then, of course, what are we going to do with the new court-appointed attorneys? You know what? I say keep them all. The prosecution has a bunch of attorneys, all the resources of the state, county, all the resources of law enforcement. Let them have 4 attorneys just to make it fair. Next, the Innocence Project wants to help Scott Peterson. That's right. You heard that correctly. The Los Angeles Innocence Project is getting behind convicted murderer Scott Peterson, arguing in motions that new evidence will show he didn't kill his pregnant wife more than 2 decades ago. Now, Peterson, who is now serving a life sentence for the murder of Laci Peterson, received a little hope Thursday afternoon when the legal organization confirmed that they had taken up his case. Now, some of you may not recall this, but Scott Peterson was convicted way back in 2004 of killing his wife and their unborn child after Laci's body was found the year prior. Now, the Innocence Project attorneys argued in this recent filing that new evidence now supports Mr. Peterson's long-standing claim of innocence and raises many questions into who abducted and actually killed Laci and Connor Peterson. The attorneys are looking for numerous items they couldn't find after combing over his trial files, including evidence from investigators into a December 2002 burglary across the street from where the couple lived, a missing watch that Laci Peterson wore, and a van fire in the area around the same time that the mom went missing, as well as documents tied to witnesses' interviews. Now, the district attorney replied to the Innocence Project's request for information late last year, claiming that the project's argument don't pass muster. Now, the DA's special prosecutor handling the case alleged the project intentionally held back information about exoneration efforts. And the district attorney believes that the fact that you have chosen to withhold items you claim to possess that support some of your assertion is troubling. Anyway, Peterson has always maintained that he is innocent, and a California judge denied Peterson's bid for a new trial in 2020 after he argued that a single juror's bias tainted the rest of the jury when coming to a verdict. The juror, Rochelle Nice, deliberately withheld, didn't disclose her own domestic abuse case during jury selection, and his lawyers, Scott Peterson's lawyers, argued that the judge found no misconduct on her part. Peterson was initially sentenced to death after being convicted, but that punishment was thrown out by the California Supreme Court, and he is now instead serving a life sentence. The Innocence Project provides pro bono legal help to inmates convicted of crimes, not only in California, but across the country. They usually go with some sort of DNA. That's how it really got started. Good stuff, but it's post-conviction stuff. These issues were already raised in post-conviction relief, and they were denied. I would have given Scott Peterson a new trial based upon the juror misconduct. She wrote a book. She withheld the evidence. She clearly was trying to get on that jury. All the other stuff, you know what? You had your shot. That's why I pretty much despise most post-conviction issues, basically saying lack of investigation, the attorney sucked, whatever. You know what? You had your trial, your day in court. Unless the attorney was on drugs, unless the attorney was completely incompetent in the sense of maybe like not even a licensed attorney, which I've seen, or somebody actually comes forward and said, hey, I did it and I can prove that I did the crime, at a certain time, the post-conviction stuff has to end. It has just completely blown up lately, and it is just shutting the courts down, where here we are some 20 years later, we're still arguing about Scott Peterson's case. There needs to be a time for some finality. Next on the docket, listen, in today's world, ladies and gentlemen, don't trust anyone around your kids. Let me give you an example. An American Airlines flight attendant was arrested Thursday after he allegedly recorded multiple young girls with a hidden camera as they used the restroom aboard flights where he was the flight attendant. Please meet Estes Carter Thompson. He's 36 years old. Why do I say that? How old he is, which we usually don't? Well, you'll see why in just a minute. Well, he was caught in September by a 14-year-old girl he attempted to secretly film in a plane restroom, which set off a federal probe that revealed videos of 4 prior victims. Now, Thompson allegedly possessed recordings of 4 minor female passengers as young as 7. That's why I noted that he was 36. And coincidentally, they were all using the bathroom aboard aircraft he had worked on. What a coincidence. Anyway, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Massachusetts announced on Thursday that the flight attendant was working aboard an American Airlines flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to Boston back in September when he tried to film a 14-year-old girl in the restroom. Apparently, about halfway through the flight, the teenager got up to use the main cabin bathroom closest to her seat, but found that it was occupied. Don't worry. Mr. Thompson approached her as she was waiting and told her that the first-class restroom was available and escorted her up there. But before she went in, he told her he needed to wash his hands and that the toilet seat was broken. He apparently briefly popped in and out of the bathroom before letting the young woman in. Once inside, the teenager, although noticed a red sticker on the underside of the open toilet seat lid, which stated inoperative catering equipment and remove from service and seat broken, was handwritten in black ink on one of the stickers, according to the filings. Beneath the sticker, what'd the girl find? A telephone. Whose telephone? Mr. Thompson's telephone. Oh, and it was on record mode. The young girl, 14, snapped a photo of the sticker and the phone before leaving, at which time Thompson immediately went back into the restroom. The girl's image shows an iPhone crudely taped to the toilet seat and covered, except from the very top where the camera is located, with its bright flashlight next to it turned on. Now, the victim returned to her seat and showed her parents, who then reported what had happened to other flight attendants. The flight attendants then alerted the captain, who contacted authorities on the ground in Boston. The girl's father allegedly confronted Mr. Thompson, who then locked himself in the bathroom with his phone for about 5 minutes before the plane landed. Well, a lawsuit filed against American Airlines by the girl's family back in December claims that Thompson's face drained with any color when he was confronted. He said, "I don't know what you're talking about. I have nothing to do with this," the lawsuit alleges. Well, at the Boston Logan Airport, police searched his belongings and found 11 additional red stickers like the ones he used to conceal the phone. Officers also checked his phone, but discovered it was coincidentally had just been restored to all the factory settings. But Mr. Thompson, not being as sophisticated as he possibly thinks he is, well, the police checked his iCloud account, which wasn't wiped, which means guess what they found? On the account, they found 4 other instances between January and August of 2023 in which Thompson secretly filmed minor girls using the restroom. The victims in those cases, they were 7, 9, 11, and 14. And the police also found 50 images of a 9-year-old unaccompanied minor on his phone's iCloud account as well, and also had images of her sleeping in her seat. Now, the prosecutors state that all of the minor victims involved have been identified and contacted by law enforcement, and authorities also found hundreds of AI-generated child pornography images stored on Mr. Thompson's iCloud account. Immediately after that September incident, guess what? Mr. Thompson was pulled from American Airlines service and has not worked for the airline since. Now, the 14-year-old girl who sued the airlines, and they're alleging that the airline should have immediately confiscated Thompson's phone, allowing him to potentially destroy evidence during the flight after the crew had been notified. American Airlines put out a statement, said it takes these allegations very seriously, and this conduct does not reflect our airline or our core mission of caring for people. The airline says we have been fully cooperative with the law enforcement in its investigation, and there's nothing more important than the safety and security of our customers and our team. So Mr. Thompson was taken into custody in Lynchburg, Virginia on Thursday and charged with 1 count of attempted exploitation of a child and 1 count of possession of child pornography wait for it, that's right, prepubescent minors, according to the prosecutors. Just remember, ladies and gentlemen, the prepubescent part, that's what makes them the else, okay? Anyway, Mr. Thompson's facing a maximum of 50 years in prison, a potential lifetime of supervised release, $250,000 fine under the federal sentencing guidelines. Oh, and guess what? He'll have to register as a sex offender. He won't be flying those friendly skies. No, that's for United. American. What are they? I don't know. Anyway, he won't be flying with American. Anyway, Mr. Thompson's also being held for his initial appearance in the Western District of Virginia, and then he's going to get to appear in Boston at a later date. Ladies and gentlemen, be careful, be careful, be careful. You cannot be too careful with your kids, okay? This is an example. I'm telling you, as a criminal defense attorney that has seen stuff that I would not wish upon anybody, protect your kids, all right? I'm telling you, protect your kids. Please go to crimetalksearch.com, sign up for a background subscription service. You'll be happy you did. If there's anyone out there you were ever curious about what was in their background, now is the time to do it. If you're going to get involved with somebody, now is the time to do it. When you go to crimetalksearch.com, you put in the name, literally millions of public records are searched, and a report is generated. And it's going to give you a report. If they have multiple social media accounts, you're going to find it. If they have multiple phone numbers, multiple email addresses, it's going to be found. And more importantly, you're going to get information regarding criminal history. Hopefully the person you're searching has none whatsoever. But if it's there, it's going to be found. You're going to get everything you'd want to know, whether you're going into business or whether you're going into a personal relationship. You're going to be able to find out the information you want to know. So go to crimetalksearch.com, sign up today. You'll be happy you did. Next on the docket, we have a story of a man who, he was a little concerned about being able to get married and being able to afford it. So what's the logical thing to do? Not call it off, not say, hey, we need to save a little bit more. You know, maybe implement some Dave Ramsey financial plan here. No, you must die. That was his thought. So footage has been released from the moment that a man in Florida confessed to beating his fiancée to death because he could not afford their wedding. He stated that he had no way to get out of it, and he didn't know what else to do. Well, Jerry Odom, he was sentenced to life in prison back in February 2021 for the August 20 killing of Vicky Edge, 2 months before they were supposed to get married. He struck Edge, a massage parlor owner, in the head multiple times with a baseball bat and then strangled her. You know, because nothing says I love you more than hitting somebody in the head with a baseball bat. You know what I'm saying? No, that's not good. That says I don't like you at all. I'm going on a limb there. Anyway, Edge's body was found on the living room floor after her family members were not able to reach her for several days. Odom was then arrested on suspicion of murder and taken into questioning, where he confessed. He stated it was yesterday when it happened. He told the detectives she was getting ready to leave. I guess this all started a long time ago. I got divorced about a year ago. I guess basically I was going broke, you know? So, okay, and we started dating each other at the beginning of May, and, you know, she started talking about getting married. You know, one thing led to another, and she was talking about wanting to get a house, and I was just agreeing to it, even though I didn't have the money to do it realistically. And then he goes on and says, I guess I didn't know how to get out of it, and that's what precipitated what happened yesterday. He then admitted to the detectives that he killed his fiancée that day. She was getting ready to leave, and I told her that I had another surprise for her. Surprise! And she put this blanket over her head, Mr. Odom described to the detectives. And then I had a baseball bat, and I hit her with it a couple of times. Surprise! Why are you doing this? And I guess it's all what precipitated this. I didn't have the money to pay for it. I had no way to get out of it. I didn't know what else to do. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Boom. I just don't know what to say anymore. And maybe it's just because it's been one of those weeks. If we have people that is their logical thinking, okay, that is not rational. You do not think like a rational person. At some point, before you go harm somebody else, shouldn't you go tell somebody, you know what, I'm feeling a little desperate. Go harm yourself for all I care. But to go do this to your fiance that obviously you don't love, I mean, he doesn't love her. You don't beat somebody you love over the head with a baseball bat. I don't get it. Now that guy, Mr. Odom, he's 64 years old. He'll die in prison soon enough. But come on, ladies and gentlemen. What are we doing? And there's no defense to that. That's why I pled guilty. Good for him. Accepted a little responsibility. Now, I bet this guy's not going to accept any responsibility because he's a naked man walking down the street and he wants to beat a man delivering firewood. That's right. A man delivering firewood to a home in Texas was killed by a naked man who beat him to death with the logs that he was delivering, according to an affidavit for an arrest warrant. Now, Scotty Jackson was found dead in the front yard of a home in Fort Worth Saturday night after suffering, get this, severe blunt trauma to the head and neck. Police responded to the home after multiple people called to report that there was an assault taking place. Jackson, who was delivering the firewood purchased from him by the homeowner, was approached by a naked man acting belligerently and extremely violent while unloading the U-Haul, according to the homeowner that was getting the wood. The naked man identified as Kristen Omondi, who was renting an Airbnb down the street. So Omondi, allegedly naked, walks up to Jackson and the homeowner and starts yelling in their faces, saying that he wants them off of his property and holding up a key. So clearly, probably drug-induced, some sort of mental illness, whatever. Anyway, the homeowner said that Omondi then pushed him and then allegedly struck Jackson repeatedly with a piece of wood and then dumped a wheelbarrow full of firewood on the man delivering the firewood. The suspect then chased the homeowner into the house before going back to Mr. Jackson and beating him to death with the firewood. Oh, and guess what? It's apparently on video and other witnesses witnessed the whole thing. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, I get it. I'm a criminal defense attorney. I get paid to make arguments, hold the government to their burden of proof. But stuff like this, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. And what do you do with people that have no self-control like that? What do you do? We used to lock these people up in mental institutions because we knew that they were going to cause harm. And then, of course, the laws were changed and you can't put people in mental institutions anymore. Maybe I'm just, like I said, it's been one of those days. Maybe one of those weeks. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, we can do better than this. Finally, our dumb criminal of the day. And let's face it, this guy is just an idiot. Let me explain why, and let me know if you agree. So, our dumb criminal found a lost cell phone in a Walmart bathroom. And then what did he do with it? Did he try to find out who it was to return it to? Maybe take it up to Lost and Found? No. No. This idiot used the phone to call 911 and claim that there was a bomb in the store. And this idiot confessed to it because he said, well, he'd seen it on TikTok showing similar fake threats and decided, well, I'll just make one myself. So the police responded Friday afternoon to a Walmart in Port Charlotte after this idiot called in a bomb threat. Now, when the police dispatcher dialed the phone number from which the threat was placed to the suspect, tick-tock, before hanging up again, according to the police. Now, after the phone's owner told police he lost the phone and apparently left it in the store, what did the police do? Oh, they went, what do they call that stuff? It's everywhere. Oh, that's right, surveillance cameras, footage. And it showed the other man entering the bathroom moments before that 911 call was made. The second man departed the store and was seen driving away quickly. Well, the police quickly identified this idiot, Cody Clements, who lives about 10 miles from the Walmart. Now, after being advised of his Miranda rights, Mr. Clements copped to seeing the cell phone in the stall and decided to make a prank 911 call. Clements added that he had watched people on TikTok make the fake bomb threat, so he's like, hey, let's give it a shot. Saw it on TikTok. Now, Mr. Cody stated that he regrets his decision and realizes that he made a bad decision. Now, Mr. Clemens has been charged with making a false report about planting a bomb or weapon of mass destruction, which is a felony there in the great state of Florida. He was released from jail on a $15,000 bond and has been ordered by the judge not to have any contact with anyone at Walmart. And you know what I would have done if I was the judge? I would have said, guess what? I'm going to put a protection order in that you can have no access to using a cell phone because clearly you're such an idiot that you can't handle the responsibility and you have zero impulse control. Anyway, Mr. Clemens is scheduled for an arraignment on February 12th. We're going to follow that one because he's an idiot. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have for you today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you next week. Have a wonderful weekend. And remember, the Constitution matters.